One company that's been riding this AI train pretty hard is Zapier. Now, Zapier, if you haven't tried it, it's pretty cool. Basically, what it does is it connects whatever apps you're using online, whether Gmail or Drive or Asana or Shopify or Facebook or Twitter or MailChimp, just pretty much whatever. I'm always surprised by how many apps they have added to their ecosystem. And you're able to create these little workflows with simple logic-based decisions as to what to do next. So for example, if you get an email with a certain subject line that triggers an action that deals with that email, or let's say you have a new business lead that comes in, you can have that lead automatically added to whatever other list that you want, various other email flows. You can have it posted in Slack where, for example, you can have one of your employees reach out to that lead. If you can explain it as if this, then that, then you can automate it. And Zapier is, for the most part, no code, meaning that you don't have to know how to code. Most of these things are click and drag, and it's pretty straightforward. For some of the more complicated things, you have to know some terminology to be able to select the correct thing that it does, but it's not super complicated. But it's not something that I would describe as brain dead simple either. There is a learning curve, and I think that's what stopped a lot of people from using it, even though it's extremely powerful for automation. And it was even before we had things like ChatGPT and effective large language models. But now that they're integrating with AI, like OpenAI and ChatGPT, the potential for this thing has really increased. And the team at Zapier has been hard at work. Now, just so you understand, I don't get paid to say this. In fact, while Zapier never paid me anything, I have paid them, well, quite a bit over the years. This is one of my accounts going back years. And actually, I have several other accounts that I've used for businesses that are separate. I mean, I used Zapier a lot. And they just launched Zapier Central. It's a preview, experimental, beta, whatever you want to call it. But this is looking very interesting. We'll do a full deep dive at a different time. But here's one of the co-founders of Zapier who's going to talk about what this thing does, what it can do. But basically, imagine prompting this thing just like you would ChatGPT, but instead of outputting text or images or whatever, or music, as with Suno AI, the output is automations. For example, when I receive an email in Gmail with the subject line, new customer, get the customer's name from the email. After a customer name, let's say you have those emails that come in whenever you get a brand new lead or a new customer that says, this person has just been added, here's their name. Or you can also use Google Sheets. If you have those customers added to Google Sheets, you can pull those names out of there. Then go to HeyGen and create a custom video with that customer's name. So HeyGen, of course, is that AI video generator where you can upload your video of yourself talking. And then when you play it, whatever you type in here, the video avatar would say. They have tons of different avatars. And they even have personalized video, basically where you import your contacts or use Zapier in the way that I'm about to show you to do this, right? Then it prepares a video template, right? You have your video, right? But you're able to populate it with some variables like the person's name, the company they're from, the date, for example, so you can make it seem like it's personalized to them. Now, obviously, I wouldn't try to trick people into thinking that it's real, but, this is something that shows that, you took the time to create something personalized for them, even though you didn't necessarily do it yourself. So you can highlight their first name, for example, right? You can have this. So they're like, ooh, they see their name. They're like, ooh, I want to click on this. You can even have their website appear, for example, and even embed personalized videos. So for example, if a contact on a website showed an interest in a particular house, for example, like if you're selling homes or whatever, certain, for e-commerce, this would be great. If they looked at a particular product, it could be an image of you talking to them, saying their name while the thing that they were interested in being shown to them, right? So this is one of the suggested actions. Now, if I click this, that'll be added to the action, but let's just go through the instructions. So we're going to go to HeyGen and create a custom video of that customer's name, then send that video to the customer using their email. So how long did that take me? 10 seconds, maybe? I mean, I was explaining, so it took longer, but if I was just to write this out, maybe 10 seconds. If I had to think about it, maybe a little bit longer if I had to think through what I'm doing. But the point is, when a new customer signs up, and by customer, I mean, it could be a lead, it could be somebody that signed up on a website. They sign up, this thing gets their first name from that initial email that you get saying that they've signed up. It goes to Hey Jen, you already have a video template there, right? It generates that video template. And I've done this in a different video, so I'm not going to go over it again. But the point is, like, when you trigger that video to be done, it might take time depending on how busy the servers are, how long it takes to generate that video, right? It might take 5 minutes or it could take half an hour, right? So what Zapier does is it submits it, and then it checks every once in a while to see when it's done. And then when it's done, it grabs that video, grabs the link, and sends it to the customer. So in a different video, I've walked you through how to do this step by step yourself. And it takes time. It's, again, not rocket science, but it's not super simple either. You kind of have to know what you're doing. For example, a new email matching search. So you have to give it like a string, a sequence of characters to search for, and that triggers it. So for example, here, if you put a customer name, so you have to know kind of like what that trigger is, what that string is, right? So they give you kind of an example of what that might look like, right? So it's either from a certain person, or it's in the inbox with a certain subject, or it has a certain label. And then you have to test it to make sure that whatever you think it's supposed to be doing is actually what it's doing. So again, as you can see, it's not like super complicated, but you expend a few units of your cognitive energy to get it done. But here I write it out, and the suggested triggers and the suggested actions are given to me. So we're going to start with the trigger. So that's step one, the first thing that triggers, new label email. We'll click use, right? Which trigger? So which kind of label are we going to use? I'll just select one at random, right? And then we'll add trigger. Now that label you have to do in Gmail, you have to add it manually, right? And then what does that do? Well, it creates a video from, let's say, from template. And then you click on, create a video from template. Now we're going to do a full deep dive into this where I walk you through how to do this. I don't think I have Hey Jen connected and ready to go at this moment. And also I have been summoned to the DMV today, which is incredible because I had to go to the dentist and the DMV in the span of like 10 days, which is just incredible. I'm feeling very unlucky this week, but we'll do a full deep dive coming up very soon here, because Zapier by itself was incredible no-code automation with the addition of OpenAI and AI in its ability to make some intelligent decisions in creating these automations. That got so much more powerful. And this is the next step. This is where instead of trying to hook everything up ourselves, we're letting the AI drive a lot of that. If they pull this off, this thing is going to be incredibly powerful. It might make me yearn for the days when I would only have to pay him $283 a month for my automations, because I will have like 8 million automations in there. Anything that I can think of, I would just add to it so that it's automated so I don't have to do it myself. With that said, here is Mike Knoop. So he's the co-founder of Zapier. This was 2 days ago. Posted 2 days ago, at least, by Sequoia Capital. So big thanks to them. I'll post the video in the show notes below so you can see it. But I would say pay attention to this, because it's obvious that Zapier is working very closely with OpenAI. At first, I thought they might be kind of competitors. I thought maybe Zapier is going to get rolled over because OpenAI will kind of unleash its sort of automated agents and GPTs and stuff like that. But no, in fact, they've been working together. In fact, Zapier, you can use to pull in GPTs, like those custom GPTs you create. We've covered this, I want to say, back in November or December of last year. You can call those GPTs to do a particular set of tasks for you. And the fact that Zapier has this massive infrastructure built in already, where for many years now, you've had thousands of users connecting various apps and making them connected and working together. They've been building this infrastructure for quite a while, and now they're pouring the magical AI sauce on top of it. And if they nail this, it's going to be beautiful. So take a look. I'm off to the DMV. Wish me luck. For my international audience, DMV is this place we have in America where, how do I explain it? It's where hope goes to die. When is that going to get automated? Anyways, enjoy.
Hey everyone, I'm Mike, one of the co-founders of Zapier. Thank you, Sonia and Pat, for inviting me back this year to show something new. 1 year ago, I was here. We were launching our V1 of AI actions on Zapier, an API that sort of translates natural language into executed API calls. And a bit of an update on that. Over the last year, we've executed over 500,000 of those on behalf of our users. And to date, we've been launching tons of other stuff AI related on Zapier. And to date, we've run over 50 million AI tasks on Zapier. If you're not familiar with Zapier, a task is basically something that's completely automated on your behalf. It's completely hands-off. We've heard a lot about agents today, and clearly it's happening. In fact, a lot of it's happening right now on Zapier. These are totally 100% automated. A lot of those 50 million tasks are using Zapier Classic. Look something like this. This is sort of a canvas view, right? This is usually how people set up and build Zaps. Lots of structure. There's a high degree of learning. There's a big learning curve. Lots of configuration, nitty-gritty stuff you got to get right. And as a result, this sort of puts a huge sort of depression on the amount of people who can successfully use and adopt Zapier. So that's what I've been working on the last 6 months. Excited to give you all one of the first public previews of a new product called AI Bots inside of Zapier Central is the name of the product. And this is a sort of ground up reimagining of what we're calling AI automation. Entire goal is to help more people in the world be able to successfully use, figure out, discover, and actually adopt automation using AI. So let's show a demo of this thing. Right now, that you probably looks pretty familiar. You know, standard chatbot. You can sort of come in here and say hello, and it will talk back to me. It doesn't do anything right now. This is sort of a blank slate bot. So let's customize it. We're going to build a new behavior. Behaviors are how you sort of customize what these AI bots can do on your behalf. Now, these bots you can customize them to like sort of change the behavior when you talk to them. But I think a more cool thing to show off, something more new and novel, is how to control this bot doing stuff on your behalf in the background, even when you're sort of away from your computer. So I'm going to take a second to type in a quick prompt I have prepared. Maybe I'll do this. All right, so let's do schedule every morning. Get the list of today's meetings on my GCal. Summarize, define short, bullets, emojis, send the summary to me in Slack. And we'll do this, add a fun automation-inspired quote at the end. All right, lots of typos, but you all know that's resilient to that. So here we've got the bot starting to suggest how to automate this. So in this case, we're going to use this suggested schedule trigger. It can happen every day, every morning. Let's say, sure, 5 a.m. early riser. And we'll add that as a trigger. And now what we're going to do is we're going to equip this AI bot with a set of available actions. So the way to think about this is you're sort of giving this AI bot permission to act on your behalf and do things in the real world. For this use case, the two that got suggested that are relevant, we're going to do this Google Calendar find event. We want it to be able to find all of the calendar events, and I'm going to actually choose a specific calendar. We'll come back and I'll actually talk a little bit more about this in a minute. We'll add that. And then we want it to be able to send a Slack message. In this case, let's not do channel message. We'll do direct message to me. Got that. And then here, I'm also going to choose a specific value for me in Slack. Or add that, and we're all set. All right, this bot's set up. It's done. I can turn it on and it will work tomorrow morning. But if you're like most users who use Zapier, you like to test things and make sure that they work the way they do. So we'll go ahead and click test behavior. And this is kind of one of the first cool things is we kind of introduced this concept of threading, which is how to kind of group context together for a single like task that the bot is doing. I'll try to pull this guy over. Is this legible? I can also zoom in a little bit. There we go. A little more. So there we go. Went ahead and pulled off my calendar. It's giving me a preview of what it's going to retrieve, and that all looks good. So we'll say, yep, that looks good. Go ahead. Now, one of the cool things about this bot while this is sort of processing here is you notice how I like sort of picked certain values for the calendar and the Slack. So that's not required. One of the things these bots do out of the box is they will sort of guess everything, right? This takes advantage of a lot of the AI actions technology we built over the last year. Out of the box, they will try to infer and guess and do things completely unprompted, zero shot. However, one of the things we learned from real users is that doesn't always work. Oftentimes, you want a degree of control over how the bot actually makes its decisions in order to increase the sort of scope of use cases. I think one interesting thing that I found is like not every user needs that, though. There's actually a lot of use cases where you might just say, be fine with sort of these bots, making decisions completely autonomously on your behalf. But there are a lot of use cases, and it sort of opens up the aperture, the amount of use cases you can do if the users can get more deterministic control over how the bot makes decisions and what it does. All right, so it looks like a good calendar event. Sure, let's go ahead and say go. it does like to check in a lot. So that's on our roadmap to tune that down. Other sort of fun surprises I think that we've learned from these AI bots. Frankly, we're still learning a lot about what these bots sort of can do. There's a lot of cool like latent capabilities built in. One that I've seen, I think Andrew mentioned this morning, there's a lot of self-healing capabilities. These are sort of hooked up in those like agentic loops. So we've been able to observe like the bot running into dealing with things that classically would just break Zaps because they're sort of super rigid, right? Like if you had a workflow hooked up to Google spreadsheet and somebody came in your team and they changed the name of the column in the spreadsheet, classically, like a Zap would just break. It'd be stuck. You'd get an error email. You have to come back and like completely debug it and figure out like, well, what happened here? And you always have to go through the entire learning curve of how to learn automation, how to learn reading structured that canvas view in order to figure it out. And one of the cool things with these natural language systems is they can sort of debug automatically and sort of loop and fix it for you. All right, so this is giving us a preview of the message. Let's take a quick look at that. There are a couple links in here. Those don't actually look quite right, though. Those don't look like they're Slack formatted. I think they're rendering nicely, but just from experience, I know that's not the Slack link format. So let's go ahead and tell it to, can you use the Slack message formatting? Let that get done. Oh, here's our automation quote. Automation is like a good cup of coffee. It wakes you up with the possibilities of the day. All right, can you use Slack message formatting? We'll give that one more step and see if this is able to take our feedback, which, by the way, this is also another very important part of what we found from users is they want to give these bots feedback and say, hey, you did this good, you did this bad, here's how to fix it and correct it. One of the cool things is these bots can actually learn from the feedback instructions in order to update how they run in the future. So you can see this one actually choosing to use a tool called updating instructions. So this is gonna take my feedback that I actually gave it, feed it back into the sort of instructions so the next time when this is running live and sort of completely autonomously, it's able to use that instruction to actually work. One other maybe fun bit of trivia, why name these things bots? When we were looking at some of our usage data of Zapier Classic over the last 10 years, one of the major themes that we saw is people tend to call their Zaps bots. Over a million people have named their Zaps with the word bot in it. So we decided to steal that name too. It seemed like a pretty good one. It seems like a very colloquial way to refer to what these systems are. Okay, those links all look much better. That's using the right formatting there. Yep. All right. And the very last step, hopefully, is going to be yes, and go. Can talk a little bit about the roadmap while we're waiting for this one to complete. I think one of the biggest lessons learned we've been getting real feedback from on this stuff is how much consistency and reliability matter for AI automation. One of the big feedback learnings we're seeing is, I think I showed it to you in the thread, where we kind of give feedback to the bot natural language. This is one of the biggest sort of themes and trends we're seeing with how users want to interact with these systems is they almost think about these individual bots as their own individualized like training. So the way they give them feedback, when they give them thumbs up, when they give them thumbs down, when they type them feedback, there's a very strong perception that like, hey, I'm sort of making my individual instance of the software significantly better. So that's one of the big things on our roadmap over the next couple weeks is to be able to incorporate and take all of that feedback and actually make these things better online. And there we go. It's sent. Did it show up? Slackbot. Rendered the links a little bit funny, but there we go. Zapier Assistant from 218. Okay, so that is a very quick look. Oh, let's see if I go back to the behavior and pop it open. There we go. So you can see here at the end, use the Slack message formatting summary for sent to the user is that sort of updating process where the bots are able to incorporate feedback right back into their instructions. So that's Zapier AI bots in a nutshell. I think one of the cool things is I just showed a demo with 2 apps on Zapier, but obviously the magic of Zapier is we support, what's the number now? Over 7,000 integrations on Zapier, and Zapier Central works with all 7,000 out of the box. So you can sort of connect any pairwise combination you want, or even have these bots do multiple actions at once. I'm not a fan or believer in waitlists, so this is available today. You can go to central.zapier.com and log in with an existing Zapier account or sign up for a new free Zapier account and give it a go. And excited to see what you all build with Zapier's new AI bots. Thank you.